Ok, velkommen til Ankerskogen. Vi har jo vært så heldige å få besøk av 2 ganger verdensmester Ricky Wysocki og verdens beste lefty, Devan Owens. Begge fra USA. Vi er veldig stoka Guru Disco som har fått dem over, og vi håper dere er stoka dere også. Vi skal kjøre en liten klinikk først, etterfulgt av Luck of the Draw doubles. Hvis dere ikke har meldt dere på, så gjør det hos Robin i teltet. Konseptet er veldig enkelt. Vi går minimum 9 hull, og vi trekker ut en som har spilt med enten Devan eller Ricky. Og hvis man vinner hullet med en av dem, så får man en liten premie. Så da kan man bare Ricky det over og kjøre klinikk.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. Well, I just wanted to first of all say thank you. I don't know what he said, but but I just wanted to thank the sponsors that allowed us to happen. Like he said, Juru, Latitude also helped me get here, and so we can share some knowledge with you guys today. So just want to thank them for giving us the opportunity to share our knowledge with you guys and be here for the clinic. So I think we're going to go ahead and go for about 10-15 minutes, and then leave the little last 5 or 10 minutes for some questions, and then we'll go ahead and start the round. But I think that we're going to start with putting. We got Devan here. He's got a similar style to me, but for me, what I like to talk about is I like to tell people certain mechanics that you can use for your own putting style, because everyone, as you guys know, everyone's got their own style, and there's multiple different ways to putt, but there's also similar ways to go about achieving different putting styles, and I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about those ways today, and Devan's going to chime in whenever he feels necessary. And if you guys have any questions at any time, you can ask them. I know you guys are shy naturally, but feel free to ask any questions you want, because other people may be too shy to ask them, and you may answer other people's questions as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to just start pretty basic and work my way up from that, because as you guys know, you got to build a solid foundation, and before you can start practicing the more complex stuff. If you don't know the basics, it's harder to learn the more complex stuff and anything you do, really. But so the first thing I'm going to talk about is just the general, just lining yourself up stance-wise and why it's so important. As you guys know, there's so many different ways to putt. Straddle putt versus stagger stance putt. But the number one concept about it is just squaring up your shoulders. I'm not going to talk about too much about it because I think it's pretty basic, but making sure you don't turn your shoulders away from the target, because that incorporates so many different variables that don't need to be involved in a putt. So pretty basic, so many different ways to stand, but just make sure your shoulders are always square. That way all your body weight and momentum is working towards the target as opposed to away from it. So pretty easy concept, but as I go further into the clinic, everything's going to build off of that as far as momentum, weight shift, and arm movement and body movement. And so that's why the first thing is super important. You got anything to add, Devan?
Not really. I mean, he's the best putter in the world, so I'll listen.
All right. Well, so the second thing is going to be a weight transfer. So as you guys know, there's multiple different ways. I like to break it down into 2. There's the lower body weight transfer, but then there's also the upper body weight transfer. And Devan's actually helped me kind of translate the information that I've been doing with my putt, so that I can actually share it with you guys. Because I'm not really used to not be good at explaining it, but he's kind of talked to me about it and been like, telling me I do certain things that I never really knew, but then I can kind of talk to you guys about certain things, because he's opened my eyes to some things I do that allow me to achieve my putting style. So the first thing is going to be just getting my weight back. So if I get my stance, lining up my shoulders to the target as I would right here, the first thing I'm going to do is put my weight back. And as you guys know, I'm kind of like a high to low putter, but it doesn't matter if you're a straight at it spin putter, high to low putter, that whatever that is your own style. It doesn't really make a difference. The weight transfer is still going to be the same. You still want to make sure to get the weight back from back to forward, and that's what I call the lower body weight transfer. You're going from basically the back foot to your front foot. You see a lot of people putt and they never really do anything. If they just do like that, from here, yeah, you're right next to the basket, but as soon as you go further, that's the number one question I get, is how do you increase your range? And you don't increase your range by spinning your wrist or doing this or that. You increase your range by using your lower body as just as much as you are your wrist as well. So you want to make sure that all your body parts are working together in rhythm and timing. So the first thing is going to be, like I said, the weight shift like this. If I'm putting and you watch me putt here in a second, I'll do a couple putts after I talk about everything. So then you can see that I'm not just talking about it. I'm doing all the little things that as soon as I set up to my putt. I do the stance, I do my weight shift, like I end like this. Almost every time if I putt, I'm almost up on my toes. If you're standing flat-footed, you're not really incorporating all your body parts. Yeah, you might make the putt, but you're not going to have as much consistency from the different long range because you're isolating, say, your arm or your wrist to get that power, as opposed to using your whole body and getting the pop off your back leg. So if you're standing, the huge difference between the two is like I showed you. It's kind of standing there. Of course, you can always do that, and I see my front foot never really came off the ground. And you don't need to, but the further you go away, you have to, in order to achieve the putt that you need, if it's 10, 15, 20 meters, you can't just stand flat-footed and putt. You'll never get enough power, and that's where a lot of people, the first question at times is how do you increase your range, and it's by using your lower body. So, you have anything to expand?
I've been watching Ricky putt for a long time. Like, one of my biggest wins, I beat Ricky when he was just getting into the game. He putted nothing like he's putting now. And like, what I've watched over the years in his putt develop, what he's talking about is momentum shift back. He puts rough his putt farther to the right to get the putt to fall in there, because most people try to line up and they putt directly on the target, and that's not where the frisbee's going to end. The frisbee's going to end falling to the left for righty. So he's just aiming higher and farther out to the right to get that putt to go in from farther distances. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, he makes a great point, because as you guys know, everyone has their own style and everyone has their own natural release. Some people's natural release may be slightly anhyzer, where it's going to finish left to right by the time it gets to the basket. Like Devin said, some people have a natural hyzer. So if you have a natural hyzer putt, you're not going to be aiming at the dead center of the pole. You're back here by where this guy in the white shirt is, because by the time you get to the basket, you're going to hyzer way off over to the left of the basket, and vice versa. If you're a left to right putter, you're going to finish to the right of the basket the further you are away from the basket. So a lot of people also ask, like, where's my aiming point? And they're like, oh yeah, you're aiming right at a chain link or anything like that. It's like, no, I know my release point, and I know exactly where I need to putt the disc. I don't even have to look at the target. I can tell you exactly where my putt's going to release and where it's going to finish by the time it gets to the basket. If I'm by Devin, I'm going to release pretty much just right in the middle of the basket because it's so close. But as soon as I go further away, like I said, back by that guy in the white shirt, I'm going to be aiming up here because I have a natural tendency to drop and go left. So that's not just me. If you guys have same goes for someone else. If you have a straight at it putt and you know your putt's just going to drop, you're not going to be aiming at the middle, because by the time of the basket, you'll be down here. So your release point should be up here because you know your putter naturally drops. As it's obvious with gravity, it's going to drop. So your aiming point should be a little high if you have a little bit of a drop by the time you get that far away. And vice versa. If Devin's putting, he plays a natural hyzer, so he's going to aim a little bit out here by the time he gets 10, 15, 20 meters away. So that's the question I get a lot of the time is, do you aim at a chain link, or do you aim at, aim outside of the basket? And it's just, you got to find what release point you have and what can play your natural tendency, if it's flat or if it's left to right or whatever it is. Make sure you play it and make it consistent with your release point. You want your release point to match where you want to start the disc, and you want to make sure it finishes in the basket. Obviously, that's the goal. And you want to just play the natural, consistent motion that you naturally have, just like a throw. Everyone's the same as a throw. Some people are natural hyzer flip throwers, and some people are natural anhyzer release throwers, and it's just whatever you feel confident with. And of course, sometimes you don't have the luxury to do your natural putt if there's trees in the way and vice versa. But if you're just in a wide open field like we are now, putting, then that's the best way to translate the information and where I'm aiming and how I'm setting up my body to where I want to achieve the putt, especially from longer range. So I'll kind of expand a little bit on what we were talking about. I'll talk about upper body a little bit more. Do you have anything to add so far about that?
I'll kind of explain one of your putting and what's going on.
All right.
Like another good thing that Ricky does is when he putts, he always finishes with his hand out like that. And the way that I best can explain that, how to do that, is for the men, like, pretend you're like reaching out to shake hands with the basket. Like, you don't want to just give it like a little soft handshake. You want to like give it a full handshake and reach out for it. And that's how you get your hand to open up at the target. And like, that's what I've been using for a while, and I've been traveling with Ricky for like the last month, and I've honestly tried to like watch him and kind of mimic him as best I can, and that's how he's kind of explaining, like, everyone's different. You just can't reinvent the wheel, so it's like you pick somebody that you really enjoy watching them play, and you try to mimic what they're doing as best you can. You don't have to be perfect or look exactly like him, because it's going to be nearly impossible to look just like somebody else. It's like, just give it your best run and see what you can do with it, and if it doesn't work out for you, pick another player. So, I mean,
Yeah, and I think that, you know, you can take a little bit from everyone. You know, everyone's got their own way of doing something, and some people, and so if you take certain things from different players and incorporate it in your game, you'll actually see a lot of similarities. As much as we are different, there's a lot of similar things that we're doing, and like I'm telling you, with the weight transfer and the aiming point, you'll see it with a lot of players. It may look like we're aiming at the dead center of the basket because that's where we hit a lot, but we just naturally know where our putter's going to go from the further we go back. So I'll go ahead and talk about maybe 5 more minutes about a little bit more, a couple more things, and then we'll leave the last couple minutes for some questions if you guys have any questions about anything putting wise, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the round. So I'm going to kind of expand on the lower body part, and like Devin was talking about ending on my toes and that being the follow through, and then I'll kind of demonstrate a couple putts, and you can see what I'm doing with my putt, and then how I end with how I get to that point of standing on my toes. So I'll kind of come back here, set this putt down, obviously. So naturally, what I like to do is I like to almost keep a straight leg. And if your leg isn't really straight, then you won't. Then you know that your weight's not all the way back as like it should be. Like Devin said, it's about 80-20 on the back foot versus the front foot. If you're 80% on the front foot, 20% on the back foot, there's no weight shift to really get that pop off your hand. And that's what you want. You want to get a smooth pop. And you can't really get a smooth pop if you're just kind of floating the disc like that. Whereas if you do this, that was the way of kind of lazy people do it. Like I see a lot of people just stand there and putt, and then versus this one. You see the difference between how it came out, the first one and the second one. The first one came out, and the second one came out with a lot more power. The only thing I did differently was that. The first one I just kind of did this, and you'll see me do that sometimes if I'm like right here and I don't really want to get that much power. I just kind of stand there and toss it in. But as soon as I get farther and farther back, I really have to get that weight shifting up on my toes. So I got too much. See, like my miss, basically, if I'm popping too much, like I was trying to show you guys and exaggerate it. So that's why I missed high, because I was really trying to get up on my toes and almost like jump. So if you notice, a lot of times when I'm far away, I'm like almost jumping in the air. It's like a jump putt without jumping almost. I'm not jumping forward, I'm jumping up to get the leverage.
and from shorter distances, you kind of don't want to get the whole entire body into it, because a lot of moving objects from a short distance is just going to be inconsistent. Like from here, it's really just use the arm and pop it forward. Like you don't need that momentum build up like he's telling you about. So it's really like once you get around circle's edge, or you know, a couple meters inside circle's edge, you really need to start getting the momentum forward, and that just makes it more consistent. Get the like consistent power every time. And like we said, it's like you don't want to load up 100% on your back foot, because that's just too much momentum forward, and it's just not very consistent, because it's really difficult to shift it forward. And that's why you need that 20% or you know whatever you feel comfortable in between of that area to get that consistency. Because it's all about consistency. Like if you watch this, like I'm sure you guys watch Ricky a lot. He's not like some miracle maker. He's not making like 500-foot birdies every time. He doesn't hit like first available off the tee, and when he does throw a bad drive, he's really good at scrambling and making that putt. It comes down to it, putting is the number one thing that makes you money. Like he is one of the best putters in the game. Him and Paul have been battling out. It's like Paul started, you know, like when I first came around, I've been playing a little bit longer than him. Like it was all about making putts inside the circle. Ricky comes along, and now he's making 3 or 4 meters outside circle's edge, and he's like completely changed the game. And like now the players that are coming up are, the putting is like unbelievable. Like that's where it all is, and that's why we're kind of giving this clinic about putting and not really worrying about much else, because it's all about putting right now in the game. So
yeah, I guess, you know, how much time do we got, Lodge? Do we have some more time to expand, or do you want us to ask questions and give it like 5-10 more minutes?
Yeah, whatever falls natural for you guys.
Okay. Well, yeah.
You can take your time.
Cool. Well, yeah, let's go. If you guys have some questions, we'll go ahead and answer a couple questions. Don't be shy. If you have any questions that apply to you, it could help other people out as well. So, if you have any questions, raise your
doesn't
hand.
have to be just for putting.
No questions? You guys are too shy?
Alright, come on. Alright, pick somebody.
Lars, ask a question. What's your question that comes to mind? Nothing?
How much training do you need
Okay.
to put in to get this so good? at putting as you
Yeah.
are.
So I think that to really establish a good routine when you're putting, I think, you don't want to go too much and burn yourself out daily, but I think anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes a day is plenty. As long as you're, like if it's windy like right now, go all around the basket. I see a lot of people that they'll go putt and they'll go to whatever wind they like. If they're a tailwind putter that they prefer, they'll go take 30 minutes of tailwind putt. But it's like, you don't really learn anything. You're just practicing your strength. Go to the headwind side, which is me. The hardest putt for me is a headwind. And it may be the opposite for Casper here if he's a different type of putter, but it's all, everyone's different. So go all around the basket with the wind, go to all different distances, and that'll increase your comfort zone as far not just the wind, but also the distances. If you're comfortable from 20 feet, go to 40 feet and go outside of your comfort zone and practice that so you can dial in, and you're not going to make them all. And, you'll see me practice sometimes and I go to 20 meters away, but that doesn't mean I plan, just because I miss doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I'm dialing in my release, and so sometimes you have to miss to increase your zone, your comfort zone. If you're just standing 20 feet, you're never going to increase and get better. So that's the number one thing I can say about practicing and training is just go outside your comfort zone, and it's going to take a lot longer to feel comfortable from obviously 10, 15, 20 meters, but then you can work your way in as opposed to the other way around. I see a lot of people like start right next to the basket, and you're going to make those to boost your confidence, but I almost do the opposite. I start far away and work my way in, and it actually feels easier that way. And of course, it's for the everyday player, you're not going to go to 20 meters and start putting. You kind of have to work your way through it, but maybe start at 10 instead of like 5, and go from 10 meters to in instead of vice versa. So try different routines like that, and it'll really increase your comfort zone and your strength as far as the wind and distances as well.
And I also recommend like resetting every time. Don't just stand in one spot with a bunch of putters and just sit there and go, just make them. Like, make one, step back, reset into a routine, and go through it over and over, because that gets you more consistent of going through your routine, because that's how tournament play is. It's putt, drive, throw an upshot, then putt. It's not just putt, and then you just sit there and get in this rhythm that's not going to happen in a tournament play. So,
what do you have to focus on to get a consistent straight release towards the basket? Besides
it's all in the momentum,
shaking
what
hands.
he's saying.
Because my putt often is the right height, but it's sometimes misses a little bit right or a little bit left.
That goes into the whole shoulder lineup that he talked about.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of people it's the shoulder. You'll see it like turn like slightly this way or that way, and that's just going to naturally cause you to try and putt across your body just slightly. So just a little bit of shoulder turn, like I'll show you. Like I see a lot of this. Like this looks like it's square, but it's actually pointing at that soccer goal right now. So now when I putt straight, I got to putt to the right, like that, as opposed to just slightly moving everything. And now if you look how stern and like confident my stance is, it's because everything is going in this direction. So I stand here, I'm putting, I know my putt's going to go right at the middle of the basket. There's no other choice for it to go. Like it may miss high or low, and that's one variable that is, of course, is always going to be a variable. But my variable is almost, and of course it depends on how far you are. But if I'm inside 10, 12 meters, very rarely do I miss left and right. It's more of a high and low release, because I know I'm confident in my stance, I'm confident in my lineup. I know everything is going this way, and I know that it's just a higher low thing, and that's something that comes with feel and practice, distance-wise. So that's some of the stuff that
line up. Like when he lines up, his right foot on the right side of the basket, his left foot is left side of the target. His entire momentum is like painting the pole up and down, so it's not going to pull left or right. He's only going to miss high or left. Like that's how he's able to go for those 60-foot depth putts with OB all behind him. Because he's not worried about missing left and right because he's so squared up. He's going to hit high or low. It's only on him if he airs it over the top or just hits the bottom of the pole. So there's no he's not worried about missing left or right. Like people that aren't squared up correctly, they're nervous because they've missed left and right so many times. It's not even worth going for it.
And it doesn't mean they're wrong. Their stroke is wrong, like Devin's saying. It's just because they're naturally a centimeters or whatever you want to call it, this far just to the left or to the right, and that causes you to putt across your body, and it's inconsistent. Sometimes you putt left, sometimes you put the next day you come over and you putt right to try and compensate for it. There should be no compensating. You just set up, everything works together. My arm swings back to forward, my shoulders are forward. There's no other choice. And of course, it's all the wrist is another thing. It's another variable to add to it. but it's more of like my wrist, I load it before I putt. I get my angle like this, and I kind of never move it. You never want to move your wrist. You see a lot of people doing like this and all this weird stuff when they're putting. That's so many more variables that shouldn't be there. Hold your wrist in place. When you pop forward, it's more like a pop for me. It's like, not like a spin like that. There's a difference between a pop and a spin like that. So, and everyone's putting sounds different, but I'm more of just hold my wrist in place, pop. Just pop a little bit.
I got a question for you, Ricky. What makes you switch from a push putt, your normal putt, to your spin putt?
Yeah, I think that there's, like you said, there's different uses for different putts, and I have, it's good to know both. And you always gotta have the putt you can lean on for everyday situations, but then there's also putts you gotta lean on when it's windy. Like this week, I had to use a straight out of kind of line drive putt. My putt going down ball, it comes kind of low, the wind messes with it really easy, and it's a lot harder to control the wind. So the wind, that was there's times to where I have to putt with line drive, and it's more like a spin putt, and they're all the same concepts. I'm coming here, I know that if I'm coming back to forward, everything's coming through towards the pole. But as soon as I release here and pull left and right, that's when I'm gonna miss left and right. So it's the same concept. Come here, so I missed low, but everything was coming forward and everything was centered towards the basket. I'm just not as confident with my spin putt. I don't normally do it from this short of range. It's normally like 10 meters and out, unless it's really windy. So it's good to have both in all different scenarios, but a lot of the concepts I'm doing are the same. It's just my angle of release is coming flat as opposed to coming down to up. So that's the biggest difference, really. Any more questions? Or we have to ask our own questions. No? All right, I think that's
Ricky. Yeah.
That's possible.
What are you thinking before you're putting?
so for me. What's up? Yeah. How much money am I gonna make with this putt? Okay. No. So for me, like when I go to a practice basket and I'm like before a round or something, I always tell myself there's gonna be like 2 or 3 things I want to do. Like whether it's like arm swing, like tempo of my arm swing. So if I step up to a putt in a tournament or practice putting in a practice basket before a round, I go, all right, I'm gonna remember to do 2 or 3 things. You don't want to you step up to your putt and you say, all right, I want to make sure my arm swing is slow to fast at the end. So that's all I'm going to do the whole tournament is just make sure 2 or 3 things like that. Slow arm swing and then push off. So
gradual, faster.
Yeah, gradual to slow motion to fast. So I know that the whole tournament I'm going to line up. I'm going to think about going from slow motion to fast, and that's going to give me confidence because I know, all right, I know my routine, that's all set and done. You should never be thinking about your routine. It should be natural. You step up to the putt and you say, all right, step up here, take a couple pump fakes to get your timing right, and then all I know I'm going to do slow to fast and pop up with my back feet. So 2 things, 2, 3 things. You don't want to think about, put my foot like this, do my weight like this, weight back, shoulders up, this and that. Step up, get your routine, should already be in. Think about 2 or 3 things, and that should be enough to give you the confidence to say, all right, if I do these 2 or 3 things, I'm probably going to make a lot of the putt. So not bombard yourself by overthinking. That's the #1 mistake. Think about all your practice should be done before the tournament. Tell yourself 2 or 3 things that are most important to your putt that you feel, and do those. So that's all you think about. All right, do this, do that, and should achieve a good putt. So that's the most important thing I can tell you is not to overload yourself. Get 2 or 3 important things, and just think about that the whole time. And if you do that, you'll probably make a lot of putts.
And then going on to another more advanced thing, there's 2 different ways of putting. Like when I asked him about his spin putt, if you notice, Ricky is going like this, spinning the wrist like this. When he's push putting, it's more of a swoop and using your fingertips to push it. That's how he gets the nose down, momentum forward. He's using his fingertips to push the putter. He's not using like an open wrist. Exactly.
Pushing the fingers under, basically like pushing the disc like this.
We kind of call it table topping because
I'm going like under. If there's like a table right here, I'm going under this table and like over the next one. So it's like under this and over that one. So it's like just kind of pushing my fingers underneath the table and back up to get the distance.
And I came from a really windy state as Oklahoma. I always have probably I don't know how you got what is it, meters per second, right? Let's see here,
It's a lot.
Windy.
Windy, yeah, really
Like,
windy.
That's like 30 miles an
It's
hour.
like the
right?
most windy state.
So, like, when I first came out on tour, it was more like this. That kind of motion. But then, once I missed a couple times and I had that comebacker, I said no. I'd rather miss like that and it'd be right there, or when I miss completely, it'd just be like
Instead of like this.
not 25.
Like that.
Like that, you do that enough times, it's so stressful. By the end of your round, you're just like, wow. And if you just cannot keep on making those over and over and over, because that's not how we work. Like, we kind of like establish all putts as the same. Like, if it doesn't matter, I mean, if it's like in that stressful range, it can be a 10-meter putt to 45-meter putt or whatever. Like, it's all about, not 45 meters, like 45 feet. So, or like 15 meters. So that's like how we try to keep it. We try to keep our misses close to the basket. We don't have to worry about it. Because like this far away, we're not really worried about this. Like, we're okay with missing and being this far away. So it's all about like your comfort level, and that's where the routine and just being comfortable and confident on every stroke really will help you better your game.
Yeah, I mean, just think. The thing about it is just even thinking about missing is a variable you want to eliminate. So like, even of course I know even being a good putter, you're never gonna make them all. We all know that. But your confidence, of course, I'm always gonna think I'm gonna make it all. But in the grand scheme, you're not going to. And you need to develop a style that you can still go for it and not even think about whether you're gonna miss or not, because it shouldn't matter. If you miss, you should like
Missing two putts in a row is very unlikely for us.
Right. And it's like, yeah, if you have two different putting styles and you're going 8 meters, 7 meters past the basket every time, and you have 4 or 5 comeback putts, you're gonna maybe miss one, and that adds up in a round, especially at our level. So
That's too fast. But when it's windy,
you kind of sometimes you don't really you can't If it's calm, you can have you can be a little bit more floaty and a little bit more have more speed. So you gotta get to the wind. Sometimes you have to sacrifice to know that you're gonna have a 7-meter putt if you come back and miss it. So I think is that about it? Let's start the roundup or what?
Yeah.
There's no more questions, I think.
come on.
No?
Come on. Somebody got a driving question. This guy took sidearm. Come on. Sidearm question?
We'll start the round. I think they're too shy.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Thanks, guys, for listening.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys learned something.